Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday night edition of Divine Femininity United. I am your girl, Dr. Bianca, Miss B. Lee, and we are here to gather to read our next chapter, our beginning chapter. Today is chapter one of our new reading. On Sunday, we came together to embark on this new journey, and we started with the forward and then the introduction of the book, which was mind blowing. Okay. If you did not check out that session, if you were not here, check it out. It is archived for your listening pleasure. Excuse me. But today is chapter one of the book Power versus Force. Okay. The hidden determinants of human behavior. Excuse me. This book was quoted in the previous book that we read, The Power of Intention, written by Dr. Wayne W. Dyer. So when he quoted this book here, it was like I said, okay, I need to get to this book. I need us to read this book because clearly there's power in this book. Okay. Excuse me, you all, I swallowed wrong. Okay. But in any case, this book is mind blowing already. And it was just from the forward and the introduction, you all. My goodness. So I anticipate what we are going to learn out of this reading here. Okay. This is chapter one of Power versus Force. Now, at any point, if you hear anything that sticks out to you, resonates with you, or whatever the case, use the comment section, use the chat. That's what it's there for. Okay. Use the chat, voice your opinion, voice what stuck out to you, so that we all can share together. That's what this is. This is a collective reading, collective discussion, and all of those things. Okay. And also share if you wouldn't be if it wouldn't be such an inconvenience to you. You know what I'm saying? Share, because again, this book is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. At any point, if you want the book, also I'll get into how you can acquire your copy of this PDF ebook version for yourself if you don't want to buy the book on your own. Okay. All righty, here we go. We are also airing live, just to give a shout out to all the platforms, on Clubhouse, on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Okay, so we're everywhere, you all. All righty, here we go. We are entering part one of this book, and the part one is entitled Tools. Tools, okay? Chapter one, Critical Advances in Knowledge. The evolution of this work, which began in 1965, was fostered by developments in numerous scientific fields, but a few of them were of special importance. Clinical research on the physiology of the new nervous system and the holistic functioning of the human organisms resulted in the development in the 1970s of the new science of kinesiology. Meanwhile, in the technological arena, computers were being designed that were capable of millions of calculations in milliseconds, making the new tools of artificial intelligence possible. This abrupt access to formerly inconceivable masses of data fostered a revolutionary perspective on natural phenomena, chaos theory. Simultaneously, in the theoretical sciences, quantum mechanics led to advanced theoretic physics. Through associated mathematics, a whole new study of nonlinear dynamics emerged. This was one of the most far reaching developments of modern science, the long term impact of which has yet to be realized. Kinesiology exposed, for the first time, the intimate connection between mind and body, revealing that the mind thinks with the body itself. Therefore, it provided an avenue for the exploration of the ways of consciousness reveals itself in a subtle mechanisms behind the disease process. Advanced computers permitted the depiction of vast amounts of data through graphics, disclosed unsuspected systems within what had been ignored by Newtonian physics as indecipherable or meaningless data or chaos. Theoreticians in diverse fields were suddenly able intimate to intimate no 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 suddenly able to intimate coherent ways of understanding data that had been considered incoherent or nonlinear. It was diffuse or chaotic and therefore inaccessible through conventional probabilistic logical theory and mathematics. Analysis of this incoherent data identified hidden energy patterns or attractors, which had been postulated by the advanced mathematicians of nonlinear equations behind apparently random natural phenomena. Computer graphics clearly demonstrated the designs of these attractor fields. The implicit potential for analyzing supposedly unpredictable systems in such disparate areas as fluid mechanics, human biology, and stellar astronomy appeared to be limitless. But the public has remained generally unaware of the field of nonlinear dynamics, except for the appearance in the marketplace of some intriguing new computer graphics patterns generated by fractal geometry. So they're doing the background just to give a, because I know there's a whole lot of jargon here, but they're doing the background of the kinesiology and how it pairs and how it syncs with the body, the mind, consciousness, and all of those things. Okay. So they have to do the foundation, lay the foundation. Okay. During the era preceding these revelations, linear science had grown progressively divorced from concern with the basis of life itself. I agree with that. I was just talking to my mom about this, how there's a separatism there, how like he said here, there's a divorce from the life and science. They're separating the two when there is no separation. And then he says all life processes are in fact nonlinear. This isolation was also characteristic of medicine, which, when presented with the amazing discoveries of kinesiology, merely ignored the information because it had no context, no paradigm of reality with which to comprehend it. Medicine had forgotten that it was an art and that science was merely a tool of that art. Within medicine, psychiatry had always been held at a distance by traditionalists because, in dealing with the immeasurables of human life, it appeared less scientific. That is, from the Newtonian viewpoint. Academic psychiatry, in fact, has made major scientific breakthroughs in psychopharmacology since the 1950s. However, it remains the most nonlinear area of medicine, examining such subjects as intuition, decision making, and the whole phenomenon of life as process. Although in the academic psychiatric literature, there is little mention of such things as love, meaning, value, or will. The psychiatric discipline at least essays a somewhat larger view of man than other traditional medicine fields do. That is so very true, okay? Okay, regardless of what branch of inquiry one starts from, philosophy, political theory, or theology, all avenues of investigation eventually converge at a common meeting point, which is the quest for an organized understanding of the nature of pure consciousness. But all of the major enterprises in human knowledge discussed above, even kinesiology and nonlinear dynamics, halted at this last great barrier to human knowledge, the investigation of the nature of consciousness itself. It's true that some advanced thinkers did go beyond the parameters of their respective fields and begin to ask questions about the relationship between the universe, science, and consciousness in its experience as mind. We'll refer to their theories and their impact on the advance of human understanding as we proceed. The thesis of the present work derives from combining these several scientific disciplines into a methodology both elegantly simple and rewarding. We have thereby found that consciousness can indeed be investigated. Although no roadmaps for such a study have thus far been available, research into the subject has produced its own design, and with it, the context needed to comprehend its findings. Inasmuch as everything in the universe is connected with everything else, it isn't surprising that one of the primary objectives of this study, a map of the energy fields of consciousness, would correlate with and be corroborated by all other avenues of investigation, uniting the diversity of human experience and its expression in an all encompassing paradigm. Such an insight can bypass the artificial dichotomy between subject and object, transcending the limited viewpoint that creates the illusion of duality. The subjective and objective are, in fact, one and the same, as can be demonstrated without resorting to nonlinear equations or computer graphics. By identifying subjective and objective as the same, we are able to transcend the constraints of the concept of time, which by its very definition is a major hindrance to comprehension of the nature of life, especially in its expression of human experience. That's so true. Because at the end of the day, time is an illusion. Time is subjective. It really, really is. If in actuality the subjective and objective are one and the same, then we can find the answers to all questions by merely looking within man himself. By simply recording observations, we can see a grand picture emerge, one that sees no limitations with respect to further investigation. Each of us possess a computer far more advanced than the most elaborate artificial intelligence machine available, one that's available at any time, the human mind itself. The basic function of any measuring device is simply to give a signal indicating the detection by the instrument of slight change. In the experiments to be described in this book, the reactions of the human body provide such a signal of change in conditions. As will be seen, the body can discern to the finest degree the difference between that which is supportive of life and that which is not. This isn't surprising. After all, living things react positively to what is life supportive and negatively to what is not. This is a fundamental mechanism of survival. Inherent in all life forms is the capacity to detect change and react correctively. Thus, trees become smaller at higher elevations as the oxygen in the atmosphere becomes scarcer. Human protoplasm is far more sensitive than that of a tree. The methodology proceeding from the study of nonlinear dynamics, which we employed in this work of developing a map of the fields of human consciousness, is known as attractor research. It's concerned with the identification of power ranges of energy fields utilizing critical point analysis. Critical point analysis is a technique derived from the fact that in any highly complex system, there is a specific critical point at which the smallest input will result in the greatest change. For instance, the great gears of a windmill can be halted by lightly touching the right escape mechanism, and it's possible to paralyze a giant locomotive if you know exactly where to put your finger. So true. Nonlinear dynamics enables these significant patterns to be identified in complex presentations, even when they're obscured by incoherence or sheer mass of indecipherable data. It discovers the relevance in what the world discards as irrelevant. It discovers the relevance in what the world discards as irrelevant, using an entirely different approach and totally different methods of problem resolution from the ones with which the world is familiar. Okay, so in that right there, that said a lot right there, because we are very quick to dismiss things that man deem irrelevant, and not realizing that everything that the creator created was created with a purpose attached to it. There is a reason for every little thing that is on this planet. There's a reason, there's a purpose. Even if you look at your lawn, even the things that we consider weeds, to the creator is not a weed at all. It has a purpose. Dandelions that we are quick to cut down and chop down has so much medicinal properties and values in it that is so healing to your body, from the flower to the leaf to the stem to the roots. You can make dandelion tea, and it's beneficial to your body and nutritious to your health. So what we deem relevant or irrelevant, all of a sudden, just because we said, or somebody in history said that it was irrelevant, that now is the course of its existence, and now everybody is programmed to see it as irrelevant. You see what I'm saying? That's wild. He said that the last statement, I'm going to reread it. It says, it discovers the relevance in what the world discards as irrelevant, using an entirely different approach and totally different methods of problem resolution from the ones with which the world is familiar. So if we're not familiar with something, we will discredit it or dismiss it or weaponize it or demonize it because we're not familiar with it. How often has that happened in times past over the course of history? My mother and I was just laughing about, not laughing, but we were just tripping out about the fact that back in the day, when the women used to know how to heal people with using the herbs from the ground, they knew how to make a potion or an elixir, if you will, and learn how to heal people with herbs from earth that are provided by earth. And when the person would be healed, the powers that be, quote unquote, would label that person a witch and would burn them alive until they later realized, oh wait, oh, our bad, we did, oh man, we were presumptuous there because they weren't familiar with it, so it had to be wrong. Same thing with the story of Christ, because when Christ going around showing people what they are capable of, the power that's within them, and how what he's doing they can do too, because he's helping people and healing people and empowering people, the powers that be felt threatened because it was unfamiliar to them. Instead of them learning from him, they were threatened by him, called him a heretic, and killed him for helping people because you're not familiar. That's the way of society. My goodness. Okay, moving on. The world conventionally assumes that the processing of problems requires starting from the known, the question or conditions, yeah, and moving on to the unknown, which is the answer in a time sequence following definite steps and logical processing. Nonlinear dynamics moves into the opposite direction, from the unknown, which is the non deterministic data of the question, to the known, the answer. It operates within a different paradigm of causality. The problem is seen as one of definition and access rather than of logical sequence, as in solving a problem by differential equations. But before we attempt to define the answer, the questions of this study further, let's examine some of the material we have introduced in greater detail. Attractors. Attractor is a name given to an identifiable pattern that emerges from a seemingly unmeaningful mass of data. There is a hidden coherence in all that appears incoherent. Come on. There is a hidden coherence in all that appears incoherent, which was first demonstrated in Nature by Edward Lorenz. Lorenz studied computer graphics derived from weather patterns over long courses of time, and the attractor pattern he identified is now quite famously known as Lorenz's butterfly. Wow. And there's a diagram here that shows the Lorenz's butterfly. Different types of attractors are denoted by different names. For instance, strange attractors. But most important to our research is the discovery that some patterns are very powerful and others are much weaker. There's a critical point that differentiates the two distant classes. This phenomenon is parallel and corollary, okay, to the high and low energy bonds in the mathematics of the chemical bond. The next is fields of dominance. A field of dominance is exhibited by high energy patterns in their influence over weaker ones. This may be likened to the coexistence of a small magnetic field within the much larger field of a giant electromagnetic. The phenomenological universe is the expression of the interactions of endless attractor patterns of varying strength. The unending complexities of life are the reflections of the endless reverberations of the augmentation and the diminution of these fields, compounded by their harmonics and other interactions. The next is critical point analysis. The traditional Newtonian concept of causality it says, see the next section, had excluded all such non-deterministic data because such information didn't fit into its paradigm. So they dismissed anything outside of their own paradigm. It was dismissed and discarded. With the discoveries of Einstein, Heisenberg, Bell, Bohr, and other great innovators, however, our model of the universe expanded rapidly. It did. Advanced theoretical physics demonstrated that everything in the universe is subtly dependent upon everything else. That's it. Come on. That's it. This is what I try to tell people about astrology as well. Don't dismiss what you are unfamiliar with, because everything, just what he just said, everything in the universe is subtly dependent upon everything else. Everything in the universe is dependent upon everything on earth is dependent upon everything in amongst the humans, dependent upon everything in the animal kingdom. Literally, everything is interconnected. You cannot dismiss one and think that you're going to move forward without it. No, just because you're not familiar with it doesn't mean that it has no purpose. The classic Newtonian four-dimensional universe is often described as a giant clockwork with the three dimensions of space manifesting linear processes in time. If we look at an even simpler clockworks, we'll then notice that some gears move slowly and ponderously, okay, while others move very rapidly, with tiny balances twirling about as escape mechanisms seesaw back and forth. To place pressure on one of the large moving gears would have no effect on the mechanism. However, somewhere there is a delicate balance mechanism at which the slightest touch stops the entire device. This is identified as the critical point, where the least force exerts the greatest effect. Man, causality, okay? Within the observable world, causality has conventionally been presumed to work in the following manner: A leads to B, which leads to C. This is called a deterministic linear sequence, like billiard balls, sequentially striking each other. The implicit presumption is that A causes B causes C. But our own research indicates that causality operates in a completely different manner. Okay. From this diagram, there's a diagram in the book, from this diagram, we see that cause ABC, which is unobservable, results in the sequence A to B to C, which is an observable phenomenon within the measurable three-dimensional world. Oh my goodness, I got this immediately. The typical problems the world attempts to deal with exist on the observable level of ABC, but our work is to find the inherent attractor pattern, the ABC, out of which the ABC arises. Okay. In short, that right there to me says it just described as above, so below. We simply look at the below, A to B to C. A causes B, that causes C. But what he's saying, what we cannot dismiss, is the ABC above that then results in A to B to C here below. Okay. So the ABC above are the attractor pattern. Okay. The operants is what manifests that attractive pattern, the above to the below. And then the observable event is the A that caused B, that caused C, that's below. Okay. In this simple diagram, the operants transcend both the observable and the non-observable. We might picture them as a rainbow bridging the deterministic and the non-deterministic realms. The existence of operants can be inferred by asking the question, what encompasses both the possible and the impossible, the known and the unknown? That is, what is the matrix of all possibility? This description of how the universe works is in accord with the theories of physicist David Bohm, who has described a holographic universe with an invisible implicate, which is enfolding, and a manifest explicate, which is unfolding. Okay, order. It's important to note that this scientific insight correlates with the view of reality experienced through history by enlightened sages who have evolved beyond consciousness to a state of pure awareness. Baum postulates a source that is beyond both the explicate and the implicate realms, which, much like the state of pure awareness described by the sages, sages would be those spiritual enlightened beings who are clairvoyant and who can bring healing and things like that, those of which the world calls demons or witchcraft and all of those things, when that has not ever been the case. Okay. Whew, my goodness, this is good. I hope, and I know there's a whole lot of, again, a whole lot of jargon happening, and a lot of this stuff, especially if you don't have the book, it might, and you're simply just listening. It could possibly go over your head, and I would hate to have that to happen, because it's really, really saying some good stuff, man. It really is. And I know I'm in this realm, I'm in this world of science and psychology and psychiatry and all of this stuff. So I understand it wholeheartedly. And I so hope that it's reaching your spirit, man, your inner ear, you know what I mean? To where your crown, your openings in your inner self, in your essence, the essence of you, so that you're getting the meat that is being served here and not getting lost in the jargon. Okay. So open your minds and hear from your heart space, not from your logical mind. Okay. Not from your logical self, your analytical self. Don't try to process it that way. Open your mind, open your heart, so that you can receive what is being said. Okay. The advent of artificial intelligence, supercomputers, has allowed the application of the theories of nonlinear dynamics to be applied to the study of brain function through the technique of physiological modeling. Okay. The function of memory is especially being studied by means of neural models, among which attractor networks have been identified. Conclusions of current research are that the brain's neural networks act as attractors, so that the system does not behave in a random fashion overall, although each individual neuron may behave randomly. Neuron models of consciousness disclose a class of neural networks called constraint satisfaction systems. In these systems, a network of interconnected neuron units operates within a series of limits and thus sets up attractor patterns, some of which are now being identified with psychopathology. This kind of modeling correlates behavior with physiology and parallels the results of our kinesiological logical muscle testing, demonstrating the connection between mind and body. In terms derived from chaos theory, hello, welcome. In terms derived from chaos theory, the clinical study described in the following pages has identified a phase space encompassing the full range of the evolution of human consciousness. Within this range, numerous attractor patterns of increasing power have been designated. These patterns represent energy fields that are qualities of consciousness itself, rather than any particular individual, as is shown by their occurrence across large populations over long periods of time, independent of testers or subjects. The evolution of consciousness and the development of human society can be depicted in the mathematical terms of nonlinear dynamics. Our study concerned itself with a limited set of parameters and consciousness that we calibrated from 1 to 1,000. So they talked about this in the introduction, where they did many testings and ranges in the calibrations and whatnot, to determine different levels of consciousness and whatnot. So they said the numbers represent the logarithm, which is to the base of 10, of the power of the respective fields. The entire field of phase space of consciousness itself is unlimited, going on to infinity. The range of 1 to 600, primary scope of the study, the levels of 600 to 1,000, which is the realm of the non-ordinary evolution of enlightenment, sages, and the highest spiritual states, will also be described. I'm excited about that. Within the total field studied, sequential patterns emerged, identifying the progressive powers of attractor fields in which there were local variations but global consistency. Strange attractors can be of either high or low energy, and the critical point in our data appeared to be the calibration range of 200, below which the power of attractors could be described as weak or negative, above which are as strong or positive. By the time we reached the calibration of 600, the attractors were enormously powerful, I bet. An important element of chaos theory, which is helpful in understanding this evolution of consciousness, is the law of sensitive dependence on initial conditions. This refers to the fact that an extremely well, it's spelled minute, but minute variation over a course of time can have the effect of producing a profound change. Much as a ship whose bearing is 1 degree off compass will eventually find itself hundreds of miles off course. That is, man, isn't that something? A ship whose bearing is 1 degree off compass will eventually find himself hundreds of miles off course. This phenomenon, which we'll refer to in more later detail, is an essential mechanism of all evolution and also underlies the potential of the creative process. In overview, we can see that from time immemorial, man has tried to make sense of the enormous complexity and frequent unpredictability of human behavior. A multitude of systems has been constructed to try to make that which is incomprehensible comprehensible, to make sense, quote unquote, as ordinarily meant to be definable in terms that are linear, logical, or rational. But the process and therefore the experience of life itself is organic. That is to say, nonlinear by definition. This is the source of man's inescapable intellectual frustration. In this study, however, test responses were independent of our subject's belief system or intellectual content. Come on. So, what they're saying is your book knowledge, all of that stuff, what you believe, mattered not at all. Okay. What emerged from patterns of energy fields that were aspects of consciousness itself, irrespective of individual identities. In common left brain, right brain parlance, we could say that the test subjects reacted globally to an attractor field, regardless of the individual variations of their left brain logic, reason, or sequential thought systems. The results of the study indicated that profoundly powerful patterns organize human behavior. We can intuit, then, an infinite domain of infinite potential, consciousness itself, within which there is an enormously powerful attractor field organizing all of the human behavior into what is innate to humanness. Wow. Within the giant attractor field are sequential fields of progressively less energy and power. These fields, in turn, dominate behavior, so that definable patterns are consistent across cultures and time. Throughout human history, the interactions of these variations within attractor fields make up the history of civilization and mankind. A side study not herein reported indicated that the animal and vegetable kingdoms are also controlled by attractor fields of hierarchic power as well. Everything is all things, because we all share properties and components. We're all made up of the same, ingenious particles and ingredients. Our study correlates with Rupert Sheldrake's morphogenetic no morphogenetic morphogenetic fields hypothesis, as well as the Carl Pribram holographic model of brain mind function. And there's a parenthesis here that says, note that a holographic universe, the achievements of every individual contribute to the advancement and well-being of the whole. Listen, in the holographic universe, the achievements of every individual contribute to the advancement and well-being of the whole. That says right there that no species, no race, no demographic can be dismissed, because they all matter to the whole. Okay? They all matter to the well-being of the whole. So to try to get rid of an element because you don't deem it relevant means you're not going to be complete yourself. Because the advancement, because the achievements of every individual contribute to the advancement of and the well-being of the whole. I need you to survive. You need me to survive. We need one another to survive. It's hard for some people to understand that, though. Our study also correlates with the conclusions reached by Nobilis Surgeon Eccles that the brain acts as a receiving set for energy patterns residing in the mind itself, which exists as consciousness expressed in the form of thought. It's the vanity of the ego that claims thoughts as mine. Right. It's the vanity of the ego that claims thoughts as mine, like my own. These are mine. Genius, on the other hand, commonly attributes the source of creative leaps of awareness to that basis of all consciousness, which, as traditionally had been called, divinity. Mm, 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 mm. That is the end of the first chapter, you all. The next chapter, chapter 2, is called History and Methodology. History and Methodology. So we're not going to go into that. We're doing a chapter per session because we need to have time to chew on a lot of this stuff, okay? History and Methodology that we just went over. What was the name of this chapter? This chapter is called Critical Advancement in Knowledge. So he has to lay the foundation, you all, in order for us to really fully grasp how to take in what is being said here, because he's breaking this thing down. He's breaking this thing down. Hello, Alice. No, this is not Alice over in Clubhouse asks, is this your biop? It's not. This is actually a book. It's entitled Power versus Force, written by David R. Hawkins, Dr. MD and PhD David R. Hawkins. If you want the book, you can reach out to me and let me know. I can send it over to you, the ebook PDF version. I can send it over to you. Just send me your email address and I can send it over to you. It's only a $5 contribution. That's it. Okay. But listen, you all, oh my goodness, he has to break it down, you all. He has to break it down. So I understand the beginning of this is it's a lot of jargon, a lot of big words. Again, I'm in the field of science. I'm in the field of psychology. I'm in the field of psychiatry. I'm in that field. So I understand what he's saying. And like I said, in order for us to receive it fully, you have got to open your heart and receive it. Allow your spirit to hear it versus your logical mind. Your psychological mind will not be able to perceive this. Okay. So he's breaking it down so that the spirit and the body and the heart and the all of the elements correlate. He's bridging the gap here, right? He's bridging the gap because science for so long, as he stated in the book, has tried to divorce spirit, consciousness, expansion from body, mind, you know what I'm saying, behavior. They try to separate it when there is no separation. There is none. So that's one of the reasons why I entered into the realm of science and psychology as well. Because what we're not going to do is act like the spirit does not exist when the spirit is the existence. I'm going to say that again for the people in the bike. What we're not going to do, science, sir, ma'am, science, is act like spirit is irrelevant when spirit is the relevance. Okay, our spirits are operating this body. It's only because of our spirits that this body is necessary. Because once our spirits are done using this body will fall to the ground, lifeless. It's because of our spirits that this body is relevant. Okay? We came from spirit into the physical realm. And when we're done with this physical realm, we're back to spirit, where the body can go ahead and return back to dust. Hello. So to study this body and X out, attempt to X out the spirit is asinine. It is foolishness. In fact, there is no study. There is no study. It's pointless. And me going through, and I've achieved my PhD in psychology, and I'm learning this. And I have listened. I was not my teachers and professors' favorite student. I'm gonna tell you now. I gave them hell on wheels. Yes, I did. Because make this make sense. And why are y'all still teaching this as if this is truth? This may be facts from back then when Sigmund Freud and them was around, okay? This was their theories. It's just that. It's theory. But you all are teaching it as if it is the gospel truth. And it's not. These are theories. These are man theories. And the crazy part is Sigmund Freud himself had a whole coke habit and mama issues. So he unhealed. He was unwell, but yet setting foundations for psychology and the study of mind and behavior. What? Coming from the one who had no control over his behavior. Listen here. Come on now. But we're steady teaching this and pushing this propaganda. We're pushing this information that has not been correct at all. It definitely has holes in it. But see, that's why we're here. We're here to fill the voids. That's why we're here with our expanded knowledge. We're here to fill the gaps. We're here to put a little paint where it ain't. That's why we're here. This is why it's imperative for us to get to ourselves. Return to your center so that you can then, from your center, demonstrate in this human realm, in this 3D space. Get back to the business of your essence. That's what you need to do. Too far, too long, we have adopted the things of this place, of which we are not from. We were instructed to be here, not become here, right? And so, but since we've been here, because the energies on this plane is very, very, very strong, especially for those who are weak, you can become enthralled with the energies. They can overtake you. They can overpower you. And it'll cause you to forget. It'll cause you to forget. Forget what, Dr. B? Forget who you are. Forget your origins, the very essence of you. Who are you? Return to your center. Return to your center. Return to your home. And then from that state, operate and demonstrate. Operate and demonstrate. Raise your children to be enlightened. Infuse your job and workplaces and elevate the spaces there. Elevate the frequencies at your work. Elevate the frequencies at the parks. Elevate the frequencies in the grocery stores. Elevate the, hello. That's the mission, to elevate the frequency. That's it. That's all. It ain't to pay your bills, to, to walk the dog, to, get your baby daddy on child support. That ain't it. That's not it. Those are mere distractions, my love, from the mission. The mission is to elevate the frequency of the place. That's what it is. But you can't do that if you are unfamiliar with who you are, or if you don't remember who you are. That's okay. Keep hanging with me long enough. That's what you do. Stick around here long enough. Okay, you'll get there. You'll get there. Like Beyonce's song on Black is King, find your way back. You're gonna find your way. You'll find your way back. That's all right. All is well. Okay. So we're gonna get to chapter 2. This is just chapter 1, y'all. Listen. Chapter 2, we're gonna start on Tuesday, which is called History and Methodology. Okay. History and Methodology. All right. Keep in mind, you all, if you want the book, to receive the book of our reading material, inbox me, back channel me, email me, okay? Email me, inbox me, back channel me. You can email me at info@biancamissblee.com. That information is in my captions. It's in my bio. No matter where you're looking, it's in my bio, captions, whatever the case, okay? Or wherever you are, you can hit the link and go to my website. The website information for those who are watching via video is on the screen, okay? Follow me on social media. You want to follow the social medias because I'm also giving you the transits and how it's going to affect you, right? The cosmic transits, astrological transits. You don't want to miss those because there's a lot happening. Again, we just learned in our reading here, we just learned that every single thing has a purpose. right? There's a connection somewhere. Everything affects everything. Just because you're unfamiliar with it don't mean you get to dismiss it and deem it irrelevant. What you thought? You thought the creator put the planets out there just for decorations? They have a purpose. They serve a purpose. Find out what that purpose is and how their transits and the expansion of the universe is affecting you, because it does. It affects the atmosphere that we reside in, okay? Follow the social medias. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. It's all Dr. Bianca Miss B. Lee, okay? All righty, you all listen. We will be back here on Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love you. I mean it. There's absolutely positively nothing you can do about it. Don't you even try. We'll see you back here on Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here at Divine Femininity United. Peace.